Welcome in everyone to GDT Live here on a Tuesday morning or afternoon, wherever you are, of course. Today we got the prospect Don Anthony Donati, friend of the show, been on a few times. We're going to bring him on, talk about the World Junior Summer Showcase, and just kind of, nitpick those rosters and kind of we'll just talk about what's kind of going on there. So without further ado, let's bring Anthony on. Oh, that was interesting. There we go. And that was a civilian moment, as Willie would point out. That was interesting. This is what happens when I have to produce the show and host the show when Dayton's out being busy. But Anthony, how are you?
I'm good. I saw your face in the middle there, and there was like a split, and I was worried.
I was
No, I'm
confused for a
great.
moment. That's good. That's good. The World Junior Summer Showcase is on. What have you how have you been kind of following along with that? You been paying attention to it?
Yeah, so I've been looking at Stephen Ellis's incredible articles, some highlight videos on X. I haven't dove deep into the film yet. Um, once it goes like Instat is usually what I use. So, you know, I feel like once I get back from vacation, I end vacation basically Thursday, but I go home tomorrow tonight. So like I'm just gonna dive in, kind of make some highlight videos, see what everybody's doing. It's really cool to see like Aiden Park playing pretty well. Obviously, he stole the show on day two of the draft with the Oilers, so that was really cool. I'm a big fan of Riker Lee, who grew up in my area, so it's always nice to see how he's doing for the Preds. So it is cool to see. Obviously, I'm excited to see like I wish Anton Frondell and Victor Eklund were playing for Sweden, but Stenberg is absolutely incredible. So I really get to like what he's doing. He scored a hat trick. Obviously, one was an empty net, but still a hat trick in one of the first few games. And I get to talk to him in the coming weeks, so that's pretty cool. But just seeing how these guys perform right after the draft, like that weight kind of lifts off your shoulders a little bit, and then it's just hockey, which is what these guys are all great at doing. So it's really nice to see.
What do you make of Canada's roster? It's obviously kind of loaded this year. Certain guys
hmm
obviously still not participating, like Carter Bear and Beckett Seneca. But what do you make of guys like, Sam Dickinson and Matthew Schaefer, and Gavin McKenna, the pure locks of this team? How are they looking, and what do you expect out of them? Like, what kind of performance do you expect out of them at the World Juniors this year?
I'm really excited to see like Matthew Schaefer coming out. Obviously, he had that game in 4 minutes and then obviously hurt his collarbone, but he was the best player on that team for Canada in that last tournament. And I just feel like him and Sam Dickinson are going to absolutely cook together. I'm a really big fan of Sam Dickinson. I had Max Miller on from Sharks Digest, and we just talked all about the Sharks and Sam Dickinson. And I really just like Canada's roster. I'm also a big Sweden guy too.
Hmm.
Obviously, USA has a great team too, but there's players that always perform well on international stage a little bit better. I don't know what it is, but like guys like LJ Mooney or Philip Ekberg, who was
Hmm.
drafted in the seventh round very late, which he shouldn't have been, in my opinion. But I just feel like it's just a really fun time for hockey, especially for prospect content creators and people that love this stuff because there's really nothing. It's kind of like NBA pre or summer league where you get to see all these guys
Yeah.
perform and they're performing on the international stage. So it's a lot bigger and you're trying to make the roster in December for the World Juniors and I just feel like it's a very fun to see like Gavin McKenna. Obviously, he had an incredible season. I think he's going to have Bedard type of hype. I see Bedard over your right shoulder over there, so that's a cool shout out to everybody watching that are Blackhawks fans. But obviously, Gavin McKenna grew up a Blackhawks fan. He's somebody that is like related to Connor Bedard by marriage, and
Yeah.
I just feel like he's going to take the next step to that generational prospect leap this year, and it's going to start in the summer. And he's obviously great at interviews. I really like how PR trained he is, or just like how natural he is with media. Him and Matthew Schaefer, I think, are going to be very good friends if they're not already friends. I mean, they have kind of similar like personalities, in my opinion. So Michael
Yeah.
Misa, there's so many guys in this tournament. Stenberg,
Oh yeah.
uh, like yeah. So I'm very excited to see Canada and Sweden and USA. Obviously, like
Yes.
Hagens is great too. He always plays good on the
Hmm.
international stage. Teddy Stiga is somebody that always plays better on the international stage. Obviously, he won. He had that overtime winner for the USA team for gold. And I like Ben Keevan, who had the bronze medal winner in overtime. Like, there's just so many guys that I love that this tournament is going on right now.
Sticking with Canada just for a moment, there's a few names that maybe don't jump out to people, and that's Owen Protz, that's Ollie Josephson, Taryn Smith. Not to put you on the spot, but can you kind of give some light to those guys and just what they're able to produce?
Well, I feel like Canada is very loaded. So you're going to see these guys in roles that you're going to normally see if they do make it to the NHL because they are so loaded. So I feel like they are more complementary players to this roster, even though, it's just because the star power that you have with guys like McKenna, Misa, Matthew Schaefer, Sam Dickinson, they need to play their role. Like even AJ Spellacy for the Team USA, like
Yeah.
he is going to, it's basically like Shane Van Sage, that role, like bottom six. You need every role filled out for an international tournament, especially when it's like playoff style. You need to know your personnel, know your role. I feel like you need to have guys like that are going to fight for every minute on the time, like their time on ice to increase. And it's not every star is going to be on the ice at all times. So you're going to need those guys, the
Hmm.
depth pieces. To say more about their games, I just feel like it's just about knowing their role. And if they can do that, it's just going to be phenomenal for Canada because Canada has an absolutely loaded roster. And, everybody's trying to make these rosters, and maybe they are on the cusps of doing so. So they just need to bring everything they can. And I think that if they have good showings, they definitely have an opportunity to. But there's always going to be these sleeper plays that make Team Canada or surprising cuts, like Michael Misa was. So you never really know who's going to make the roster. Like if it were me, I would not have thought that Michael Misa was going to get cut for the Worlds last year. So it's just
Yeah.
like I have no idea if they're going to make any of those three are going to make the roster, and maybe they do. But um, that's one of the things. Like it doesn't matter about your draft position either, because like Love Herenstam or Herenstam, Louvre. We went over this in my interview. He spent like 15 minutes with me, and I still can't say his name right. But he was drafted in the sixth round, and now he's the starting goalie for Sweden right now. So it like Philip Ekberg drafted in the seventh round, LJ Mooney drafted in the fourth. So like you never really know who's going to perform better on that like high stage and internationally. And that's always one thing
Hmm.
that it doesn't matter about your draft position. It's what your role is, what you're going to bring to the team. Is it physicality? Is it size? Is it skill, playmaking, face off, like percentage, defense, more of a defensive role, shot blocking. So, um, I don't necessarily know who's going to make those rosters, but yeah, I think those three are definitely in line, maybe on the cusp. But yeah,
Looking at the American team, guys like James Hagens, of course, stand out, and you touched on LJ Mooney, which has just been, I mean, what a player he is, right? Like you're talking about a guy that is just going out there and already just turning heads at the Montreal Canadiens camp, doing
yeah,
so with the U.S. What do you make of LJ, and what do you think that like not his ceiling, but how do you figure he'll fit into this USA mold if they decide to give him a shot and let him play at the World Juniors?
I feel like LJ Mooney is so skilled that even if you put him on the power play or give him any kind of space, he's just so skilled. I remember watching this guy's highlights, and obviously he didn't really grow that much at 5'7", but he was
Yeah.
drafted in the fourth round for a reason. I think he was estimated to go probably second or third round, and he just didn't. a lot of the smaller guys in the biggest draft of all time basically kind of fell, and I don't like really understand why LJ Mooney fell. Like I grew up watching a lot of skilled players playing like Patrick Kane, even Alex DeBrincat, not really growing up, but Alex DeBrincat comes to mind because he's a silky smooth player. I mean, look, like there are so many guys that you could go to that are smaller, but in the NHL, the physicality is a little harder to navigate.
Where
Go,
how
yeah,
do I
Logan
point? I was
Stankoven.
pointing at Stank. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking him too, but I didn't want to. But I feel that when you're on the international stage and not really in the NHL yet, I think that he's going to absolutely be able to cook. It's not like the physicality. There's not a lot of like 6'7" physically developed players that are just going to like make you scared. If LJ Mooney doesn't make the roster, I would be a little concerned. Not like concerned, but I would be a little surprised. I think the Habs are doing tremendous in this tournament. You have, you know, Koivu, who's been absolutely on a
Hmm.
torture. Teddy Stiga, who's one of those players that did score that gold. I think that he's a tremendous playmaker. I think him, LJ Mooney, James Haggins, it's like the guys that like have that sort of skill, the playmaking ability, they are going to be able to overcome those smaller frames because they just have that added skill. So I love LJ Mooney. If I was a Habs fan, I'd be super happy watching this tournament.
Oh yeah, you just mentioned Atos Koivu and like what he's been able to do and how he's turning heads as well,
Yeah.
right? And it's remarkable the system that the Habs are putting together. But sticking on with the World Junior Summer Showcase and talking about some of these guys, one player that has stood out to me from the U.S. is Luke Osborne and
Hmm.
or Osburn, I think that's how the last name is, and he's been phenomenal. I've seen Stephen Ellis over here at Daily Faceoff tweeting about him, and Osburn's getting in certain roles and positions. Is he a guy that you think could just one of those sleeper picks that could make this team?
Yeah. I think the Sabres have a really good back end. Like they
Hmm.
got who did they get? They got he was one of my favorite players in the class. He had a tattoo on his arm that he talked about at the combine. I just can't remember his name. Bedkowski. Yeah, they got
Oh
Bedkowski.
yes.
Like I really do like what the Sabres are doing. They also got like Mertka. So obviously they were trending into defense. It seems like Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, they love their defensemen. I think that Osborne for this team is going to turn heads because obviously his skating is fantastic. His
Hmm.
defensive play is very, very good, and his decision making has been really good too. As Stephen Ellis has pointed out, like I love the reactions that Stephen Ellis has on X. It's very funny. Because he's always right, honestly. Like he is a very good evaluator. I feel like he could definitely make this blue line for USA. There are a couple guys that I really do like, but I think that he would be a really good like at worst bottom pair defenseman on this team. Like maybe he even is top four if he continues to show and continue to develop. You just never really
Yep.
know who's going to perform on the international stage. And when you have the skating, you're able to play that kind of game. You're going to get really good ice time. There's just some players that do. So it has been surprising, honestly, that he's been that good. And I haven't really dove into his tape as much as some
Hmm.
of the other guys, but everything that I've heard, he's been fantastic. So yeah.
Blake Fiddler, another defenseman there who's, a WHL invite, of course. How do you figure he fits into this mold? He's, of course, he captained the U18 team, I think, if I'm correct, when he played just this past year
Hmm.
down in Texas, right, back in his hometown. How do you figure Fiddler fits into this defensive mold?
I really like Blake Fiddler. I got to talk to him multiple times throughout the season. He's just a really good person. I feel like big, really good on all ends of the ice. I think that the decision making is good. I think that he should be on this team. I think that that should be a slam dunk, even if he's not getting as much time on ice. I think that this guy is one of the best defensive prospects on the entire team. So I would be a little surprised if he didn't make it because like basically developing these guys to play in different tournaments for Team USA. And I feel like later in his career, he will be on Team USA's team. So I feel like you just need to
Yeah.
play him, even if it's bottom pair. I feel like it would be a good spot. I really do like Blake Fiddler's game. He was great this year. So just continuing to let him progress, figure out the game a little bit more. I really do like it. I like Blake Fiddler a lot though, so I might be a little biased, but yeah, I think that he should definitely make the team.
One more American player I wanted to just touch on here for a quick second, and that's Cole McKinney. He seems to
Hmm.
be having himself a good little couple games so far. What do you make of McKinney?
Yeah, I love McKinney. McKinney is one of those guys that actually grew up playing in the North Shore circuit near me with like Riker Lee and Asher Barnett, and I feel like
Yeah.
he is somebody that has always been a top 20 player in this class, but kind of dipped a little bit. Him and William Moore, I was kind of surprised about their falls. Obviously, the Bruins got an incredible steal with William Moore at like in the 50s, but I've always been a fan of Cole McKinney. I think that he is incredibly skilled, really good two-way player. I think that he should definitely make the team. He's just one of those U.S. guys that you need, somebody that you can trust on all areas of the ice. His time on ice, I think, is going to only continue to increase. He's one of those guys that I was way higher on than consensus back in my December, January rankings, where I had him like 25. Like I definitely thought he should have been a lock for the first round. But then as you had other guys like Mason West and even Riker Lee or like kind of coming into that first round, especially like Vaslav Nestrasil and people like that, he kind of fell for me a little bit. But I think Cole McKinney's a great player, like Colin Potter as well. Like those guys, I think
Yeah.
helped him. Like Adam Banach was somebody that was kind of in the 40s, and there was just a lot of guys that fell this year. Cam Schmidt was supposed to be in the top 20, and I just really feel like Cole McKinney was one of those guys that I could see play NHL minutes. So I think he needs to be on this team. I love every minute of watching him. Same with Riker Lee, same with Colin Potter. So those are some guys that are some of my favorites too. So I do like McKinney.
Are you at all surprised Mason West didn't get an invite to this or to the Holinka? I guess he's too old for the Holinka Gretzky, but are you surprised at all he didn't get an invite to this?
I'm honestly like not surprised because I also
Yeah.
know that he is training for both sports. Obviously, I think he's probably going to try to get a little bit bigger, add more to his frame to try to bulk up for the football season. So maybe it's
Yeah.
a blessing in disguise that he didn't because it's going to be a lot of cardio, going to be a lot of skating, which he honestly needs the skating. I think he needs those reps, but since he is still a senior in high school or going into a senior year, he has time. And I feel like he just needs to continue to build out that frame so that he is ready for the football season because it's completely different. The training is probably different. The regimen is probably different. So I'm not like concerned that he didn't make it. I'm a little more surprised that AJ Spellacy made it, or to this point, and
Mm.
he's been playing really good. If we're talking about football players on the Blackhawks, but I think Mason West is one of those guys that's like it didn't really matter to me if he made it or not because I think he should prioritize getting bigger so that a a hit from a linebacker or a defensive end isn't going to stun him for the entire season or whatever it is. So I'm not really concerned.
Okay. Um, Focusing on Sweden for a second. Uh, there's no Anton Frondell and no Victor Eklund.
Mhm.
But Gabriel Eliasson's there, Sasha Boumedien's there, Jack Berglund's there, the Bjork brothers are there. But in particular, I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you what you thought of Wilson Bjork, the older brother of Vigo, Canucks draft pick. I've heard a lot about him here in BC. Of course, all the BC radio stations talk about Bjork. What do you make of Wilson Bjork? And then add on to that, what do you think of Vigo?
Yeah, so I like that they're both playing on the same line, that
Yeah.
third line. I was a little bit surprised Vigo was on there, but also I think it's better for them to stay on that line. I think it was basically because they wanted to play them together. And I just really like that. I like those kind of stories. I like when you get to play with your brother or anything like that. I was a little surprised that I was going to say Blackhawks, but I'm surprised Blackhawks pick Anton Frandell and Victor Eklund both didn't like join, because there was a little talk that they were going to. But Wilson is obviously, like, he was drafted in the 2025 draft, so I feel like he has that upside, he has that talent. I feel like he is on the smaller side, obviously, a very tiny frame. Like,
Yeah.
his brother is exactly the same as well, even though the height is there for Wilson, the frame is not. I think that it's going to just be, if he continues to develop his frame, get to 180, 185 pounds, I think that'll be really good for him. He obviously is like somebody that I think could potentially make the roster because there's no Anton Frendel or Victor Ekman, and maybe they do play at the Worlds in December, and maybe it pushes off some of these guys. But I really like Vigio and Wilson. I'm obviously higher on Vigio, but I think that he would be a phenomenal play for a lot of these teams in the top 15 at this point, but he is a player that could slide because of his size. I could totally see a scenario where he does, but um, yeah, the frame on Wilson is a little interesting because it's like he's listed 165 pounds, but at 6 feet. So is he able to continue to add to his frame? Um, I feel like obviously he will, but that's just one of the things that I think should be talked about. But with Vigo, I think he's going to definitely solidify himself as one of the best players in this class. I really do like his game. Obviously, he's 5'9", so he's kind of near that like Stankoven, like closer to Bedard than LG Mooney. But like I feel like
Hmm.
5'9" is where you start to fall a little bit in any class. Draft Pros Hockey has him ranked fourth. Daily Faceoff has him ranked fifth. I think that this guy is incredibly skilled, has a lot of talent. But if there's one guy in the top 10 right now, because there's always a guy in the top 10 that falls, even top five. Like last year, there were three or four with Ryabkin, Logan Hensler, even Cam Schmidt on some lists. Like Cam Craig Button had him at number 8 overall. So there's always some guys that fall that are listed in the top 10. If I had to pick one right now, I think it might be him just based on size. But it doesn't really matter how he even performs at international tournaments. It's just going to be the size issue. If he grows 1 or 2 or 3 more inches, obviously, I think he should solidify himself as a top 5 pick. But that's just usually not the case. Like we can't
Hmm.
like base it off that. But he also has bigger size than his brother does. At 5'9", he has a 170-pound frame. So his brother is 6 foot and has 165. So I think that is also interesting that he already is gaining that weight or muscle. I do see like that as a plus. So I am excited to see him too. Obviously, I'm a Blackhawks fan who is always looking at the bottom of the rankings for Tankathon, and he's somebody that I don't know if they would target with a lot of players. Like this is a really good draft where you have like Ryan Robrick, 6'4", 6'5". You have like Verhoff, who I think is an incredible defensive player who looks like a fourth forward out there. McKenna is obviously incredible. I like Stenberg is somebody that I think the Blackhawks could target. Definitely, since Vigo is from Sweden, you have that connection with Anton Frendel, but it is going to be interesting to see if his brother does make the team, and I do think he will because Vigo is projected to be one of the best players, and having his brother there is going to only help him.
Who on Finland impresses you so far? Atos Koivu is one player, of course, that we've talked about. He's just been lighting it up. But who else is on that Finland roster that you're kind of liking right now and you believe could have a breakout role for this Finnish team here at the World Juniors?
Well, I just want to talk about like Koivu for a second because I think
Yeah.
that the Habs have honestly done incredible with like drafting as well as like player development. And I'm not even sure what it is, but they continue to take players that have a ton of skill and it's working. Like obviously you have LJ Mooney, you have Cole Caulfield going back to him, you have Hudson, and it's just one of those things that it's like they just continue to nail draft pick after draft pick. So I am surprised that like they are doing so well. I know they had a lot of draft capital this year, but they haven't really had high end picks. I mean, they even traded two firsts this year for Dobson. So I always thought that was like interesting how incredible they are at continuing to draft players over and over. So, uh, like one of the players that I like is who I thought should have went higher last year was a wild draft pick and Aaron Kobe-Haru. I think that he is one of the players that just has a lot of skill, obviously smaller side, a lot of the defensemen this year, I don't think there was one player under 6 foot that was a defenseman that was drafted. I know Luka Radojevic should have been a Muskegon Lumberjack, in my honest opinion, because he was very, very talented and I thought he was really good. But Kivi Haru is going to continue to surprise a lot of people. Obviously, he was a top 5 pick. I know that some scouting places, like 2 years before, had him as the number 1 pick. He's just continued to show that he is talented. He has that skill. I think he can make it to the NHL. When he was drafted by the Wild, he said that they made like the league made a mistake. I think that that's actually true. There's always fourth round picks that kind of fall through the cracks, but it seems to be a lot of players that are small on the smaller side. So he is one of the players that I really do like.
Yeah, Kivi Haru's a name that's been around in the prospect pool for a while. I think a lot of people know his name from even a few years
Mhm.
ago as a projected top 5 pick, and to see obviously what happened in his draft year and him to fall, I think that's a great selection. We got a few questions from the chat, Don. I'm gonna get to them here. We're gonna start with a fun one from our friend Casey Bryant. The go-to Italian Sunday dinner meal for the Don.
I actually was about to go to a Italian buffet. There's only two in the United States, and one's in Kansas, and the other is in Colorado or Oregon. I can't remember. I'm like watching Nathan for You right now, so it's like they keep going to Oregon for some reason in the rehearsal.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was Oregon or it was like Colorado, but I'm a big Italian guy. Italian food guy. I just made chicken parms for everybody that has been hosting me at their house and for my vacation and everything. So
Oh
I would
man.
definitely take any suggestions for Italian food.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love Italian food, love chicken parms. Uh, Don, what from Big Willie Styles? The best double IHF jersey. I mean, I'm not even biased. I'm not even going to say Canada. I love Sweden's jerseys. I've always liked Sweden.
I like Sweden, but I also am a fan of like Finland's jerseys. I always
Hmm.
liked those colors. Also, USA, I always think that they
Yeah.
do a really good job. So those obviously I like Sweden too. I think Sweden always has a loaded rosters internationally. I was talking to Milton Gastron this year, and he's like he had 5 bronze medals. Like he wants something different, and then he obviously won silver. But I really like the passion out of Sweden. So I'll go Finland, but Sweden is also one of them.
And then one more question here from Randy Workman. Why did Zane Perek get taken out? Of course, that was something that popped up today from Hockey
Mhm.
Canada. There wasn't too much information behind it, but do you happen to know anything?
I saw this today, and I actually was a little surprised because he was obviously one of the headliners. It's got to be like not too. It's all speculative, but it's got to be like a little minor injury because or
Hmm.
they had already told him he was going to make the team or whatever it was. Like I don't know, but I don't think it's anything major. Um, maybe like it's just a minor injury and they wanted to keep him out. I don't know, but I think he's an incredibly talented player, very offensively skilled. I love him as a prospect, so it's always fun to watch him play. And I am a little disappointed that he won't be playing, but there's a lot of players that are going to replace him and in the like the high end talent. So it is a little like I am a little sad about it, but I don't know the reason why he got taken out.
Yeah, I kind of searched around and asked around too, but wasn't able to get an answer here before we went live. One defenseman on Canada that I kind of wanted to touch on and get your thoughts on as well. Harrison Brunek, Kamloops Blazer,
Hmm.
who of course has just been lighting it up in the WHL. A player who, of course, I mean, he very well could make Pittsburgh's roster this year, given their defense core and how polarizing of a prospect he is to Pittsburgh. But what do you make of Brunick and just him having a huge chance here to kind of help lead this team in a top four position on defense?
Well, it's surprising that you said that he could make their roster this year, Pittsburgh's roster, because I hadn't,
Mhm.
thought about that. The thing about him is like I think that he will make the roster for like. Sorry, it's frozen. Are you still frozen?
No, you're good. You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry, it like froze. So yeah, I like his
That's no problem.
size. He's obviously somebody that I think um, definitely is a mobile defenseman, very two-way. I think that any team internationally or any team honestly needs that. Big 6'4", 6'3", 6'3", I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has the size that he can be able to compete. Uh, I really do like him. Obviously, he was a second round pick last year to Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguins drafted really well this year. Obviously, a lot of people go to the Ben Kindle pick, which I was surprised about, but he's one of the most clutch players in the draft. But then you have a lot of like players that I really like. Like one of them was Charlie Trethewey, who I really do like, but I think that they're building in the correct way. He's he can do it all, honestly. So I feel like civilian Wi-Fi by Big Willie, honestly. But yeah, I feel like that this is one of the guys that did light it up in the WHL. Obviously, he didn't have the most goals, obviously, but he did put up some nice assist numbers. I think that
Yeah.
his like main traits is that he can do it all. A he is a tool that you can utilize in any situation. So his mobility is really good for his size. His stick checks are pretty good. Like his playmaking is could get a little better, but obviously I think that he is going to be more suited into a like top four, maybe like 4 or 5 defensemen on the Pittsburgh Penguins if he does. And I think that he does have the upside. So I think that this is a guy that definitely is going to make the roster for so for Team Canada. And I feel like that's just kind of locked and loaded. Obviously, they have so many players on this back end, but he's one that I think that you need to play. He has the veteran experience, being one of the not older guys on the roster, but I like there are 2026 eligibles. And he was obviously
Hmm.
drafted in 2024, so he kind of is one of those veterans. And I feel like his WHL numbers, the only thing that like kind of pops out was the plus minus, but he was also like kind of in a lot of situations. So I do think that the team,
Yeah.
like Team Canada, is going to trust him a lot with the minutes, and I think his time on ice could increase as well. So he's one of those guys that if you think he's already going to make the Penguins roster, he's going to have an incredible amount of uh, time on ice, and maybe he makes the roster so he doesn't play for Team Canada this year. So that's also something.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. So in a short tournament like this, how do you evaluate prospects and players? Because the rosters are still so like the lines are still fluid, everything's all still kind of moving. From your perspective, how do you evaluate prospects in such a short span here?
Well, I think that everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt in every single tournament, and then you have to make your evaluations based on year to year or how they progressed. So if you're going to be, and I think a lot of international tournaments for hockey are good because you take so many players from different leagues and see how they adjust. When you're taking multiple players from like the WHL, like Sweden or like NCAA or whatever it is, you're taking a lot of players from a lot of different leagues. Like Colin Potter was obviously playing against NCAA players. You have like some guys playing against SHL players. You need to see how they all play together, see where they're all at. It's kind of like it's like preseason. So are players performing? Are they in roles that they can play in the NHL? Like Van Sagi, he was playing like 12 minutes a night for um, like Michigan State. How does his role develop? Is he going to play the exact same role in the NHL, or is he going to play a like it's based on what role you're playing as well as like how you are contributing and just kind of the production you have. But it's really nice to see all these guys playing at the same arena when they all have come from different places. So it's just kind of like, are they performing well? Like LJ Mooney, he played great at Dev Camp. How is he doing? Was that just a fluke? No, it wasn't, obviously. So how does he perform this season? Does he get a lot better? Does he use this momentum? Is there any like minor injuries that we have to look at when we're looking at these guys? Can they use the physicality to their advantage on some guys? It's kind of like when you're putting all of these guys in one place, it's just really nice to see where they're at. And then you have to look back at their entire season last year. And then this year, it's just a full runway. Are they going to use that momentum and have an incredible season? Or are they going to slow down because there's just so much hockey, there was so much going on? So I really do like seeing the draft eligible kids playing against the kids that are, or the prospects that are already drafted or 2 years drafted. Like obviously Gavin McKenna, I think is worlds above some of the other eligibles, but you see him play. You get to see him play in practice with like Schaefer, Sam Dickinson. It's just like they're giving them advice as well, the draft process and everything. So I think that it's just a good time and it's more fun than scouting at this time. But then you have to look at the entire year. You
Hmm.
look back, did they get better? How did they get better? What did they need to improve on? What did scouts tell them that they needed to improve on during this tournament? So there's a lot to look at for this specific tournament or just any kind of tournament, any kind of games. I mean, you look at some of the like Brickley Invitational or whatever when these guys are super young. Like, it's just to see where you're at. So these tournaments are just to see where they're at, in my opinion.
Who's one player that people should know about that it's not just getting hyped up enough?
Well, like Philip Ekberg, in my honest opinion, obviously it's not a
Yeah.
2026, but Philip Ekberg is absolutely incredible in all of these international tournaments. Obviously, he was drafted very low, in my honest opinion. Seventh round, he should not have been. I was very surprised about that, but he's one of those players that I really do like. Obviously, Randy Workman asked him about Schmidt. I love Cam
Mm.
Schmidt. Like Cam Schmidt is was drafted 94th to the Stars, and he probably should have been a first round pick in terms of talent and skill, but probably second or third round based on his size. But I was very surprised that the Stars stole him at 94. Obviously, they took another smaller player in Stankoven, and that worked out. So, you know, there are some teams that are okay taking the smaller players, and they seem to be the ones that have realized the potential and the value of taking smaller players. You saw that with the Habs with so many players that are under 5'11" or 6 feet or whatever it is. Like you have Lane Hudson, you have Cole Caulfield, you have LJ Mooney now, and then you go to some of these other teams like the Stars or even like the Blackhawks who had DeBrincat at 5'7", and then obviously they took a lot of players that were under 6 feet. There are just some player, and even Calgary Flames, they hadn't done it in the past, but they took two 5'11" players this year. So in the first round, so I feel like there are teams that are okay and very comfortable with taking those smaller players and the reward, because there was this interview that came out with Dan Middlestein for Gold Star, and he obviously was the agent for Demidov and Artem Levshinov. And one of the things he was saying was the reason why the Hurricanes are taking a lot of these Russian players, and it was because you have them till they're like 27, or you have the contracts. So you don't have to. They're basically saving $4 million every single draft because of you don't have to make a decision for the CHL kids in 2 years. You can take that time. You can wait and see how they develop. And I feel like there are some truth to that with smaller players as well. You have the exact same percentage. 47% of players play one game in the NHL draft. And I think less than 10% play over 100 or 200 games. So when you're looking at it that way, I think you need to take skill because skill and skating matters the most, in my honest opinion. It's what is going to translate. I don't know necessarily why height is that big of a deal when the NHL is only getting more skilled and faster paced, as well as physicality is kind of being taken away with less fighting, less the penalties. They're protecting players more. The NHLPA is protecting players more, and the rule changes where I feel like it's getting a lot. It's not in the playoffs mainly, but I think that players that are getting boarded or roughing, they're getting benefits of the doubt. So they are trying to protect. It's like quarterback hits. We're going back to Mason West or AJ
Mm,
Spellisky. Like they're trying to protect the quarterback. So I think it's the same thing with players. You have to play 82 or 84 games in a season, and the teams want to make sure that they're going to be able to last. But I think with Cam Schmidt, he's just very small. I think he was listed at 157 pounds on Elite Prospects at some point of the year. He could have continued to increase his muscle. I think that he needs to, but at 5'7", there's a reason why he was even drafted because he's super skilled, very good shot. I think that he is very shifty. I think his speed could be. He's not a Colin Potter skater, but he's not like Porter Martone. So like he's he's a good skater, but he's not like elite skating. I feel like that's something that like
mm,
he. Well, the thing is, like Colin Potter was the best skater in the draft, but the thing is, like Cam
mhm,
Schmidt should have probably been in terms of like his size and ability. But when you give this guy any kind of space, like I think LG Mooney might have put it together a little more than Cam Schmidt, but I think Cam Schmidt might have more potential. So it's just will he be able to realize his potential? I think the Stars are probably going to get it out of him because there are some teams that had like 10 draft picks and there's some teams that had three. He was obviously the Stars' first draft pick, and I think that there's a little more emphasis on getting the value out when you have only three picks in the draft or four picks or whatever it was. So I feel like if a team took him, it was good that the Stars took him. So, or like say the Blackhawks took him later in the round, he would have been like the sixth pick that they had. There wouldn't have been as much emphasis on we need to get the most out of this guy. He was just a boom or
yeah.
bust. I feel like it was good that that Schmidt got picked by the Stars.
Yeah, I think that's a good fit for him too, and especially with just them being able to grow smaller talent and guys like
Yeah.
Stankoven and Maverick Bork, etc. Big Willie Styles has a question here. Is it harder to make the NHL from college or the CHL and USHL?
Well, I actually asked multiple people this question, as well as Glenn Heffernan, who is incredible USHL commissioner president. And I was like, what is like the best path? And this is a question that could be based on position. I think that if you're a goalie, the best thing that you could do is go to uh, probably stay away from college, in my opinion, because you could play 8 games by December. I think that you need as many reps as possible. I think that you should probably prioritize going to the USHL or CHL. I think the CHL is more advanced for some goalie prospects because I think that like Green Bay Gamblers in the USHL, like or Green Bay Gamblers, they had Adam Guyan, and Adam Guyan wanted to go there because it was a team with poor defense. And he knew that he was going to have a lot of opportunities to stop shots. He didn't care about his save percentage. He just wanted the reps. I feel like Jack Ivankovic, he went to Michigan, and it was because, the program, he's going to be able to have a really good defense in front of him. He's going to be able to have that NHL or not NHL level shooting, but very developed shooting. I think that if you're a forward or defenseman, you have to watch out which program you're going to. Like I think Logan Hensler, I love Logan Hensler as a prospect. I think that he made a bad decision going to Wisconsin. I think that he should have probably gone to Minnesota, which was his hometown. University of Minnesota has been continuing to develop defensemen over and over. I think that him learning from a guy like Sam Renzel would have been very good. You see that with Maceo Phillips and Jacob Rombach, who are both going there to be Golden Gophers. I feel like when I get asked, well, I'll answer this question with this: like, you saw what Connor Bedard was doing in the WHL, but you saw what
Mhm.
Macklin Celebrini was doing in the NCAA. Connor Bedard was putting up incredible stats and highlight videos, but Macklin Celebrini came out of college with an incredible two-way game because he was ready and more prepared. You see guys get on that development development regimen when you go to the NCAA, and you're eating all the time. You're eating diets based on nutritionists, and you're working out so many times per week. And there's more practice, so you're going to be able to work on your game more. Like a player like Porter Martone, who is going to the NCAA level, like Michigan State, that's going to help his power skating a lot. He's already in the NHL, so he doesn't have to get worry about his numbers and will he be able to do this, this, and this. I feel like NHL draft eligible should probably go to the CHL if they want to increase their stock for the draft. But if they actually want to work on their game too, and they have something that they think that NCAA coaches can help work on, I think that it would be best to go to the NCAA level. And goalies, I think they should go to the CHL or USHL. And then after they get drafted, go to the NCAA if they want to. But yeah.
I think I think that's a great way to look at it because with goalies, it's like you said, it's limited play, it's limited action, and as a
Mhm.
goalie, you don't really want that. You want to be able to get the best bang for your buck in that sense, right? So I get that, and I think that that's just the way the league is kind of trending as well, the CHL as a whole, where it's going to be like 15 to 18-year olds, and then a
Mhm.
lot of the drafted players are going to go on to college where they can work on certain crafts and can and focus on certain elements of their game. um Switching course here as we kind of wind down with you. You've spent 45 minutes with me, so thank you for that. um we haven't had you on in a few weeks, and the Sam O'Reilly and Isaac Howard, or Ike Howard, I guess as
Mhm.
he would like to be called, happened. What do you make of that trade from your prospect share?
So I honestly really like Ike Howard. I like the name. It's so hard because it was Isaac Howard and now it's Ike, and it's easy when you look back. But like I really liked the player at Michigan State. He was absolutely incredible, really good production. I think that the only problem was that he was on the small, like under 6 feet. That I think it took him out of a lot of people's radar. I think the Oilers are so good at taking players. They did this with Savoy. They are always looking to revamp their prospect pool without giving up much. If it's a one for one, I think that Isaac Howard is a lot more skilled and O'Reilly is a lot more two-way. You know what you're going to get. Maybe third line player. I think Ike Howard has a more top six role in his
Mhm.
game, especially the skill set. But in the playoffs, who are you going to want? I think the Oilers needed that swing, and I think that the Lightning are okay with taking that kind of third line projectability, middle six player in Sam O'Reilly. So I really do like the trade for both teams. I thought the Lightning would be able to get a little more, honestly, when I was looking back at the trade proposals that people were DMing me, because it's just fun discussion and things like that. And I was like, what would you want to give up for Ike or Isaac Howard at the time, but Ike Howard, and it was like a first and second round pick. And I was like, well, that's a little much, but it was like first, third, first and fourth, something of that. I don't know if they got first round value in my honest opinion, but it's good if you're the Lightning and you don't want to wait to develop a player, you know what you're going to get. I feel like Sam O'Reilly also has some upside too, but I don't think he has the upside that Ike Howard does. But I think it's just different players. What do you
Mhm.
kind of want? I think that they wanted a player swap because teams are not valuing draft picks as much as they used to be. So yeah,
And yeah, and I from my perspective, it was, they wanted to Edmonton wants to compete now, and who can
yeah,
fit into that roster right now? That's Ike Howard. Sam O'Reilly, and no knock on Sam O'Reilly, but he can't fit into that team and make that impact that they would want in a player that's Ike Howard can do. So it works out, I think, for both teams because Sam O'Reilly's favorite player is Anthony Cirelli, so now he gets to learn from
nice,
Cirelli,
yeah.
and it all works out well, I think. One more question for me for you. Actually, I do have two more. I have two more.
Go ahead.
But what do you make of Kevin Korchinski? We've asked you about this before, but what do you think is going to
Yeah.
happen here now that the summer is halfway over and things are kind of progressing and we get ready and closer to training camp? Is something going to happen with Korchinski?
I'm not worried about Kevin Korchinski as a player. I think he'll figure it out, but I'm worried about Kevin Korchinski on the Blackhawks because you're talking about a guy that there's a lot of spots being filled out by just random defensemen that are kind of coming out of nowhere. And it's not random, but when you got guys like, Louis Crevier, Big Lou, who's just like 6'7" coming out of nowhere and it's going to play probably on the right side, but can play both ways, honestly. But you have Ethan Del Mastro, who was actually traded for Porter Martone at one point back in the for Brampton, which I always think is
Yep.
funny. But you have Wyatt Kaiser, who I think is incredibly skilled, who is always sniping. If you're watching any highlight, like if it's not the NHL, this dude's just sniping. I don't know what it is, but Ethan Del Mestro is an incredible breakout passer. I think that he has absolutely top four upside in this defense. I think that a guy like Artem Levshunov and Sam Rinzel and Alex Vlasic are going to solidify the three best defensemen on the team. So where's Kevin Korchinski going to play? Is Kevin Korchinski
Yep.
going to be on the power play one? Probably not, because it's going to go to Rinzel or Artem Levshunov, who love to shoot. Is Korchinski going to go on power play two with two defensemen? Maybe. I think that the Blackhawks are a team that kind of could go to offensive defensemen on their second power play because similar to like when you play NHL, when you had Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith, I think that it just kind
Hmm.
of works out when you don't have the offensive star power that the Blackhawks do at this point. But say the Blackhawks, next year in 2027, so we're talking about a year out, you have Frondell, you might have, say, Gavin McKenna, just or whatever it is. But there's not going to be any room on that power play two anymore because you're going to have like Kantarov,
Yeah.
Lardis, all of these guys. So I am worried about the fit for Chicago Blackhawks, but I'm not worried about the player. I think that when you have a guy like Korchinski drafted seventh, it's probably not going to realize his potential at the seventh overall pick. But the thing is, the
Yep.
Blackhawks took Frank Nazar at 13 overall and Sam Rinzel at 25. Those are two top 10 picks, in my honest opinion. Like, so look at it this way: like the Blackhawks took Frank Nazar at 7, they took Sam Rinzel at 13, or flip flop him, and then they took Korchinski at 25. Like I think that's kind of how you need to look at it now. And I think Korchinski can be a top four defenseman. I think that he has all the offensive tools and everything. I think that him not being able to go to the AHL right out of the gate and having to play that first full year kind of stunted his or kind of scared him a little bit, maybe shell shocked him. I think that he has all the offensive tools. He's a great player. Braden Coots is very high on him, who went 15th overall. I really do like Kevin Korchinski. So it's kind of interesting what his development is going to be. The guy can score. He had 5 goals when he
Hmm.
absolutely had no idea like what he was doing out there his first year. I think he was like minus 44 his first 2 years in his first like I think he played like 92 games or whatever it was. But he did not really understand how to play defense. His frame, he was getting destroyed by a lot of this like speed as well as physicality up there. When you try to battle him in the front of the net, I think it's a little hard. I think that he needed a more veteran defenseman. When you have
Yep.
Levshunov and Rinzel is probably your 1-2 right-handed defenseman, it's kind of hard to play Korchinski at top four defense because you don't want to ruin one of Rinzel or Artem Levshunov's stat lines as well as their confidence because you don't know if you have to overextend on defense and kind of waste the offensive side of your game if you're one of those two because Korchinski wants to go into the rush. He wants to be active in the O zone. I think that he wants to be able to handle the puck a little more. And when you have Renzel and Levshunov, you can't really do that. And I feel like it would be incredible if Vlasic was right-handed defenseman because you could have just paired Vlasic with Korchinski, who has a longer reach and is a more defensive side. But I think that you need to play him in the AHL for a couple games. I think you bring him up. I think he played really good during his stint with the Blackhawks this year in the second half of the season. I think that he looked like a completely different player, and I think that like he won AHL MVP or AHL All Star MVP for a reason. He was
Hmm.
voted to the All Star game, and he played really well. Ethan Del Mastro was also AHL All Star, so you have that, but Korchinski is one of those guys that I think that you need to look at and reset his draft value and just go to what you have as a player. I think top four is pretty good. I think he locks out and solidifies the Blackhawks as like a top four player where it's Vlasic, Rinzel, Artem Levshunov, but it's so tight now. And that's also if a player that the Blackhawks have drafted doesn't develop. I mean, we haven't even talked about Nolan Allen, who was a first round pick for the Blackhawks in I think
Hmm.
2021. So you have
Yep.
so many guys back there, and the Blackhawks haven't taken any defensemen in a very long time. Ty Henry from the Erie Otters, who was teammates with Matthew Schaefer, Martin Misiak, and Malcolm Spence. But after that, it's like we haven't really taken a lot of players. So Korchinski has the runway, but he just needs to fill out his frame. He needs to do a lot in the off season and come out a little hotter this year.
My last question for you. What is your favorite jersey in the NHL?
Jersey. Well, I'm a okay. So to stay away from the Blackhawks jersey because I always have loved the
Well,
red, I would probably
okay.
say um, I like I like the Florida Panthers logo. I just always have liked it. Like I think it's sick.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the Carolina Hurricanes is pretty cool. Their jersey.
Yep.
Um, Avalanche. I do like the Avalanche jerseys. I think they're sick. I think I would want to get it. I've had a Colorado Avalanche jersey before, but I'd kind of like Makar would be a kind of cool jersey to have. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
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 Who's
The
yours?
Makar jersey would be awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite jersey in the league? Uh, oh, see, for me, I think it's Blasty. I like the Flames alternate
Hmm.
jersey. I think that's my favorite one, or the goat head with Buffalo. Those two.
Okay. Well, okay. So the Stars one for me would be the alternate jersey. I do like that
Yeah.
logo a little more. Um, this is a good question. I feel like prospects should be asked this too, honestly. Um, I was also thinking of a question to ask some prospects and like their like when did they know what their flex is? Like when
Oh
did
yeah.
they
Yeah.
like figure it out or whatever? I feel like the jersey is cool because there's so many different jerseys. Like if Utah would have went with the Yetis, I feel like I would have liked the Yetis jersey. Like whatever it was, I think I would have
Yes.
loved the Yetis merch. The Mammoth is cool. It's a cool name, but the Yetis was just perfect. So I feel like that would have been cool. Um, yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
really good
agree.
question.
That jersey is sick too. The North Stars color Minnesota one. And
Mm.
if they were to make my thing with that one is like make an away version, make a white version. Like you have a white version, but like let's use both now as your home and your aways because that would be killer.
Okay, so other than the Blazers, who is your favorite WHL jersey?
Uh oh, I think the Hitman, the
Nice,
Calgary Hitman. Yeah. I've always
nice.
liked that, like the Brett. I've always been a big WWE guy growing up, so I always loved Bret the Hitman Hart. And since he owns the team and they've got like the pink jersey and stuff that they do, I find that so sick. So I think Calgary Hitman would be my favorite. Do you have a favorite WHL jersey?
Yeah, it's Everett Silvertips. Obviously, you just had
Yes.
Casey on, but yeah.
Yeah, that black third jersey that they revealed. Holy cow, that thing is killer.
I actually have not seen that one. Wait, is that new?
So it came out last year. They wore it for a few times last
Oh,
year, I
okay,
believe.
yeah, yeah.
And they're gonna be wearing it for like every Friday game or something like that this year. I believe they announced on their social media. That jersey is sick.
When I make a team in Shell, I use the Silvertips logo, and
Yeah,
I always love that. I always think that's cool. But
yeah,
there's a lot of cool jerseys. I think that they do a really good job. Like even the Kraken, I think have a really cool logo. But I think
yes,
like that's a cool logo. You can do a lot with that, honestly.
yeah. The Kraken's color schemes and stuff are really unique. I like it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm trying to think of another jersey that I like in the CHL right now, or in the WHL, I guess more specifically. Like I've always liked Brandon's, the Wheat Kings. They've always
Yeah,
had
that's a
nice
good
ones.
one.
Prince Albert's had some nice jerseys in the past. Regina has some good alternates.
Kelowna. Kelowna is a
Kelowna's
cool one.
always had some good ones. Moose Jaw's had some good
Moose, yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a
I
lot of
always
like the Kootenay Ice, like the original Kootenay Ice team. That team was sick. That logo was awesome. It was pretty much a Yeti.
I like
Oh yeah,
for the USHL. I do like Muskegon. I think that
yeah,
they just do it right. In every way. I like Fargo Force is pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, my favorite one from the USHL is Youngstown.
Okay, the Phantom. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I
That's a
love
good one.
that one. I love the purple and just what they're able to do with that. It looks so cool.
Yeah, that is actually a cool one. They need to do a like I know it's AHL team or whatever it is, but I think
Yeah.
that the NHL should do a like AHL jersey day where you're just wearing the AHL affiliate team where
Oh
they
yeah,
go
that would be
there.
sweet.
I think that would kind of
Yeah.
be cool. Or like play in the stadium, or I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel like it would be like cooler if there would be a way where the NHL teams utilized some of the color schemes of the AHL or their team affiliates, like ECHL or whatever it is. But I feel like that would be kind of
Mhm.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just thought of another jersey. Good lord. The Islanders fisherman one. That one
Mm.
is elite. What a jersey that is.
The Chicago Wolves jersey is actually pretty sick too. I do like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those ones. Those are good. Those are good. Yeah, there's some good ones in the AHL too. Once you start to break it all down. Um, it's been an hour, Anthony. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much for your time. We'll get you back on here again soon. You're going to be a regular. You already are a regular. So you'll be even more of a regular here shortly. But why don't you just quickly tell the viewers what you're working on?
Yeah, I have some incredible interviews coming up. I have a lot in the vault too that I have not posted, but I have some really cool ones. A lot of 2026 eligibles. I have Daxon Rudolph, who I think is going to be an absolute stud. I think that I have Adam Valentini. I have Ivan Stenberg. I have coming on. Landon Dupont coming on. Tynan Lawrence. I'm gonna do like a Muskegon Lumberjacks day where I go out there and I'm gonna join the broadcast team with Ezra, who's incredible. We watched Vaslav Nestrasil get drafted by the Blackhawks, and I did an interview with. I'll make a second interview with him. I just posted that yesterday, and like his whole family, Vaslav's family, is so supportive of my content, and they like love that I'm like supporting Vaslav and giving him opportunities. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like that's great. Um, I get to talk to a couple some cool players, some cool media personnel. I have a lot of people coming on that I'm very excited to see, like just talk to them. I have Caesar, who
Mhm.
was the star of the Panthers run. He
Oh,
came
yep.
on.
Yep.
Uh, he's awesome. So yeah, just doing that. Yeah, the YouTube and TikTok has been doing really well. The TikTok has been popping off. I haven't really posted there in like a week and a half or whatever, but the support on there has been absolutely incredible. I went from like 5 followers to like 750 in a couple weeks time, so that was really cool. I have no
Nice.
really idea how TikTok works, and when I post a picture, there's always like music that comes, and I have no idea how to take that off. So I'm learning. So yeah, watching your content, you've been putting out some incredible stuff. Every guest, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. When you posted that picture of regulars, it was like superstars. There were commissioners of leagues, there were NHL players, and then there was just me on the bottom. And I was like, that's hilarious. Like, I thought that was awesome to be mentioned with the 12 group of those other people. So that was pretty cool to see. I see that you guys are continuing to grow. So it's really cool to see how you guys, just continue because I really love watching your stuff. So it's always cool to come on.
That's awesome. Thank you for that, Anthony. Yeah, you're the best, man. Seriously, your content is amazing. I encourage everyone to go watch the Vaclav Nestrasil interview because I watched it. It was fantastic. So
Thanks.
everybody, go check that out. Go check out Don's stuff, and we'll catch you soon. Okay, Don.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, man. There we go. That was the prospect Don Anthony Donati joining us for a good hour there, talking about lots of different things. That was a good time. Got on a little tangent about jerseys at the end there, so that was fun. You guys can let us know in your comments let us know in the comments what your favorite jersey is. But we'll cut it to a quick commercial break before we wrap up the show, and I'll let you know who's up on tap for tomorrow.
Looking for a new way to quench your thirst? Game Day Tarps is now an official Quench affiliate. Head on over to quench.ca/GameDayTarpsPodcast and use our code GameDayTarpsPodcast, all caps, all one word, for 15% off your total order. Stay cool this summer with the #1 sports drink on the market. Stay quenched.
Is the off season bumming you out?
Yeah.
Do you wish you had more hockey content to consume?
Yeah.
Well, head on over to patreon.com/GameDayTarps and check out all the exclusive content we have to offer. Behind the scenes videos, in-depth analysis, and so much more. Select a membership tier and enjoy the content made only for you. Only at patreon.com/GameDayTarps.
Big thank you to Quench Hydration and to Patreon as well, and to Dayton for making all of that. Dayton's not here, of course. He's at work, as Big Willie Styles would put it. Dayton's busy being a civilian. So that's about what Dayton's doing for today. Tomorrow, we got Sam Nestler from the Dallas Stars and Reed Duthie from the Brantford Bulldogs, the play-by-play guy. So he's going to be joining us. Looking forward to that. So tomorrow, 11 Pacific time, 2 o'clock Eastern, right here back on GDT Live.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into another video over here on the Game Day Tarps podcast and the Hockey Podcast Network. We've got so much more where this came from, so smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell, turn the notifications on so you never miss a beat. For myself and the rest of the guys over at Game Day Tarps, we thank you, and we'll see you next time.